We're going to be looking at linear regression, this unit. It is a short unit.
How short?
You will be taking the test next week.
So before
Before the quarter ends. Next Friday.
The last day of the quarter?
Yeah, we have school on Friday.
We don't have school Friday.
Yes, we do. We don't have school Monday.
We don't have school on Monday,
Halloween.
the 31st.
Halloween's Monday?
Yes. That's what I just said.
Miss Whittle?
Yes.
I have my phone.
Where's Davis?
Why no Trey?
Bruh.
After the notes.
You know what I'm
Okay.
saying?
No.
Alright. Like I said, short unit.
Oh my gosh.
Of the devil.
Grab the
Great job being on
notes,
time.
and you're back here.
Why would you be late on Miss Whittle's birthday?
Yeah.
We sang happy
You
birthday.
missed me. We sang 2 times already.
Yeah.
Please say it again.
No.
So,
No.
I think we should make David sing
one?
alone.
Right there. Alright.
Oh my. I thought you went to the wine hut.
I wanted to. I wasn't allowed to.
Why?
You're right.
When did this happen?
You're
Oh, that's right.
right here. Which one?
One of these.
Alright, so this test will be next Thursday. The end of the quarter is next Friday. There is no school on Halloween. So have your Halloween party during the day, not at night. Okay? Well, because you have school the day after Halloween, so you
So
don't
why
want to
would
stay up late.
Why did they do that?
I don't know. Why do they do anything they do, Ty? The other thing is the homework for tonight. I didn't update it on the notes thing, so make sure you follow this homework that is listed here. Okay? You're right there. And grab the packet from up front.
Are you recording?
I am recording. We got to hear me groan when Davis came in late, and then when Trey came in late.
What did I do?
You showed up late.
I got
All right.
a car accident.
Actually?
Yep.
Actually,
What happened?
that's why there's an ambulance outside.
Yeah, escort. I need you here because I'm so dedicated to this class.
Yes.
No car accident.
All right. So
That was me.
we are going to be looking at relationships, this unit, between 2 variables. So far, we've only looked at 1 variable data. Now we're going to look at 2. And sometimes 1 variable explains or even causes the changes in the other variable. When that happens, the independent variable is the independent variable X or Y. X, thank you. Just to, make math more interesting, we're not going to call it the independent variable anymore. We're going to call it the explanatory variable. Because it attempts to explain the observed outcomes. See, I even put it right there. Attempts to explain. So explanatory. The dependent variable, which is Y, is now going to be called the response variable. And that's going to measure an outcome of a study. It's going to give us the responses, the results. That's why. So to the right, we have 6 random students' GPAs and ACTs. Megan came up and did the warm-up. And which one did you give as the explanatory variable, Megan? The X? GPA, thank you. And that meant ACT was the response. Because, like I said earlier, we would expect that your GPA could kind of almost predict your ACT scores. The higher the GPA, we would assume higher ACT, but that's not always the case. So, like I said, this is the first time that we're looking at two variable data. And when we look at two variable data, first thing we should do is start with a graph. Then from the graph, you want to look for an overall pattern. And deviations from the pattern. And then after that, you should add a numerical summary. And then you put it into words and describe what you see. And you would have thought that I would have made that line a lot longer, knowing my handwriting, but I didn't. I don't know what I was thinking, okay, Mason? Be nice. All right. Can I move it up?
Yeah.
We're going to make a scatter plot. We have 6 pieces of data, so we're going to do this by hand. Then later, with a bigger set of data, I'll teach you how to do it on the calculator. So, Megan told us GPAs are X. I'm going to write it off to the side so I don't get in the way of that blank that we're going to fill in later. GPA, we start at 0. ACT is our Y. Highest GPA is 4.0, so 4, that means 2 is halfway, 1, that is definitely not halfway. We'll go with that's 3. One, two, three, 1, 2, 3, 4. 31. I should have made it 30, not 31.
What class do you share along with?
Weinberg.
I don't remember him playing videos.
He plays them all
Is that
the
military
time.
Is that military science?
And grab the packet from the front. I don't know. I just know that Weinberg shows lots of movies at really loud volumes. Movies, videos, I don't know. Something. I hope they're educational. 31's not a pretty number.
32.
What's the highest ACT score?
35. 32. That was 35.
32.
32.
Caleb doesn't agree with any of you. No, I mean the actual. What's the actual highest you could get?
Max. It's 32.
It's 32.
32. What? 36. Let's go with 36.
So actually,
I would trust them too over you. Sorry.
I thought it was 35.
Someone look it up.
I'm pretty
No,
sure.
because Ty probably got a 35
I don't know.
or
I thought it was
36.
32. Maybe my score is a lot less impressive than I thought it
I
was.
think. I don't know why I keep thinking 35.
What was your ACT?
36.
Yeah, it's 36.
wow.
Good job, guys. You guys guessed that, right?
You got 35.
Good job.
No, they knew that because they both got 36s.
Sure.
No, they didn't.
What was your 36 on a sheet?
What?
What's your ACT?
I don't remember.
Did it exist when you were?
Like you and George watched it?
I wish I could throw things at you right now, Mason.
That wasn't that offensive. It's kind of a new test in retrospect.
ACTs did exist
Okay.
when I was in school.
My bad.
Ah. All right. 3.0 and 19, so that's a little above 18, right? So there-ish.
Ish.
3.5 and 27. There-ish.
Ish.
3.1 and 22. That's 21. So, ish. 4.0 and 31. Ish. 3.7 and 26 ish. 3.1 and 19. That one's nice because it lines up with the other two. Hey, we made a scatter plot. That's it. Those aren't hard, huh?
You don't connect them or anything?
No, that's just it. Nothing to it besides placing dots. So, a scatter plot shows the relationship between two quantitative variables, and they have to be measured on the same individual. It would do me no good to put Dia's GPA with Davis's ACT score.
Davis, stupid.
It did not
Davis,
say
what's your
that.
ACT?
You don't have to answer that.
You do have to.
Each individual appears on the scatter plot as a point.
I didn't even take it.
Explanatory goes on the X. Response goes on the Y.
Wait, Miss Whittle.
Yes.
You know if Oregon requires the SAT or ACT?
U of O?
Yeah,
I don't think either would do. No, would do it. Yeah, unless it's like.
If you have two individuals with the same data point, use a different symbol so that you can tell you have two pieces of data at the same place. So when that happens and I'm doing the graph, like if it was an example in class that I was doing, I would
Is there a space?
use a different, yes, there's space. I'd put a dot, and then if I had another individual with the exact same data, I would circle my dot. That's how I do it. On the calculator, they kind of just make a double dot, kind of like a snowman. I've seen kids make dots, like a semi-big dot, and then put an X over it to show that there's two pieces of data there. It doesn't really matter as long as you can understand that there's two pieces there. If you want to add a categorical variable to a scatter plot, such as gender, simply use multiple symbols. So if we wanted to add gender to this, I would have to make a key, say something like a dot is female, an X is male, and a triangle is non-binary. And then I could, when I put my dots for, or my points for the ACT GPA stuff, I could have a dot, an X, and an X, and a triangle, and another dot, and a triangle. If you need to make that picture to understand, yes. Notice that males are both at the bottom. Nobody picked up on my joke.
I didn't hear you, Joe.
You just didn't like it. Sorry.
Just discrimination in the classroom.
Yeah.
For good reason.
Someone explain it to me.
Male is the X, and notice I put the X's down lower GPA, lower ACT. Thank you. Thanks. I don't think he meant that.
That wasn't funny.
As Henry would say, stupid's a bad word. Can't use it. Can I flip the paper over?
Henry's my dog.
What?
Henry's my dog.
Your dog.
Do I babysit him?
He works in the preschool.
He works?
Yep.
Yeah,
I
he's
get paid.
taking the class.
What are you doing?
He's taking the class where you get to work with the kids in the
I
preschool.
know.
So fun. It is so fun. It looks
Where
good
are
on your
those kids taken
transcript.
from? Because I don't know anybody who is like
Like the
one
side
of
of
those
the road.
kids. Like,
Yeah, we just
I'm so
Steal them.
confused. What?
who are those kids? Where did they get them
Like
from?
teachers,
The
kids,
preschool kids?
Yeah.
There's students.
Which
kids.
Lots of teachers.
Yeah,
The
teachers,
preschool on
and then you hit a
campus.
goal, and then students and teachers are prioritized first.
Yes.
I've never met a single person who like used to be one of those kids who like was a preschooler for the child care development program.
What?
Oh.
Awesome.
I think they're fake. I don't think they exist.
I've got 2 of them. Okay.
You have 2 of them?
Henry's so real.
Molly went through CDC and Henry's in the
Wait, Molly's
CDC.
done?
Where's
I thought Molly was the youngest.
Where's Molly?
She's in 2nd grade.
Was she here when I was gone? I heard her
Yes.
in the video.
Yes.
That's so sad.
She told me it'd be nice to Mason and Ty. Remember I wanted to hit you with the water bottle and she was like, oh no.
And she drew
And I
me a
was
picture.
like, ah.
Kind of saved your
But
job.
weren't you, when you had the water bottle, didn't you say, Mom, what are you doing?
Something like that. She was like, what are you doing, Mom? All right. When examining a scatter plot, you want to look for an overall pattern. 3 things you want to look for. Direction.
Why? You said it one day.
Form.
You said it really weird.
Form
So
and
much work.
strength. All right, so direction. We would say 2 variables are positively associated when above average values of one go with above average values of the other.
It's 'cause I'm taking this class.
So my example is as the number of hours studied increases, your test score increases.
Like,
There is a point where I would agree it's not true, but for the most part, I'm going to use an arrow instead of writing the word increases. Oops, sorry. There we go. And then the other direction would be 2 variables that are negatively associated. So you have above average values of 1 that goes with below average values of the other. My example there is kind of odd, but bear with me. As the temperature outside increases, hot chocolate sales go down. Nobody drinks hot chocolate in the heat. I told you it was kind of weird, okay?
it's like the way you said it.
Yeah, why'd you say it like that?
Nobody drinks hot chocolate.
Nobody drinks hot chocolate in the
They do.
summer.
Actually, that's not true, because I
My
have.
little brother does.
Sometimes
You're
you just,
weird though.
You just crave it.
No, get frozen hot chocolate.
What?
Oh, it's not hot.
I got that from the place behind Walmart. What's it called?
That sounds terrifying.
No, it's yeah, Malolo's or something like that.
I would agree. It did sound terrifying the way you said
No,
it.
Malolo's,
I
they
got
have
that
a
from the
frozen hot
place
chocolate.
behind Walmart.
You know what's actually good though? Caramel hot chocolate from the human being.
I've never had that.
It's actually so
I should
good.
never mention drinks or
Caramel hot
food as an
chocolate.
example. Lesson
Try
learned.
it.
All right.
You want it?
Hazelnut truffle.
I don't know what happened,
Yeah.
but somehow I got the same words from the previous page here, and that's not what I wanted there. And I don't know how I did it. This is supposed to be talking about form, so we're just gonna scratch this out, and we're gonna just write it for ourselves. So the second thing you look for is form. There are 3 common forms that scatter plots take. There is linear, which is going to be the focus of this unit for us. So I'm going to capitalize it, all caps, because that's the one we're focusing on. There's also curved scatter plots. And then there's what's called cluster scatter plots. There are scatter plots that don't fall into any of those forms, but those are the most common. Yes, sir.
What's an example of ones that don't fit those forms?
You can have scatter plots that, well, I suppose you could call it curved, but you can have scatter plots that follow an exponential form, a logistic form, a quadratic form, a polynomial form. So there's lots of forms. We focus on linear regression in this class. Cluster honestly just looks like a bunch of dots, but they call it a form. And then the last thing you look for is strength. We're going to measure strength by how close the points in the scatter plot resemble a simple form such as a line, because we're focusing on linear. And then, of course, just like we did with chapter 1, when we focused on one variable statistics, we have to watch out for outliers. So, this is the only chapter where if I describe the graph, you don't use socks. We now have direction, form, strength, and outliers. So I don't know what you want to call it. We could do DOFs, FODs, SOD, the S, the DF next to it. We can go with DOFs, direction, outlier, form, strength, or form, outlier, direction, strength. Those actually sound like words. If I put the F and the D next to each other, I can't make those sounds.
Doffs.
All right, Trey says DOFs. We're going with DOFs.
Fox.
Okay. Well, FODs. DOFs. I don't care. The order doesn't matter. Just make sure you cover those 4 things.
Doffs. Fox. Let me make a star.
May I move my paper up, please? Thanks, Kayla. All right, so when it comes to evaluating strength, we look at the correlation coefficient. And we use the letter R to measure correlation.
Pen sucks.
Correlation actually does pretty much everything for us because it's going to tell us the strength of the relationship. It's also going to tell us the direction. And R only works for linear relationships, so it also pretty much tells us the form. And again, just to drive it home, this only works for the relationship between two quantitative variables. So now I'm going to show you how to get R on your calculator. Caleb. You sure? All right. Anybody need to borrow a calculator? Calculator.
Whoa.
All right. So what I need you guys to do is put GPA into list 1, ACT into list 2, please.
Well, second.
Second stat.
No, just stat. Just stat. No
Edit.
second. Yep.
Clear. Enter. Oh, make
Wait, what'd you say? Each one? What and what?
3.0.
GPA in list 1, ACT in list 2, please.
3.0. List 2.
We're not going to graph this one. We're going to use this data to find R. So, what, everybody good got their lists? You're going to hit stat,
Stat. Calc.
go over to calc.
Varsity 1.
No.
Hold on.
We're going to choose number 8.
Wait.
Lin, reg, A plus BX. Lin for linear, reg for regression, number 8. A plus BX.
Lin reg. A plus B.
What do we do instead of
Stat,
Calculate.
stat?
go over to calc.
Varsity
No, not varsity 1.
What?
They called it the same thing. Like,
Because that's our thing. It's varsity 1.
Is it not called Varsity 1?
It's the only way I remember it.
Yeah.
one variable statistics
That's
is
varsity
weird.
one.
Varsity 1.
All right, number 8.
0.95.
Wait, do we stick with list one?
X list, I put GPA in list 1.
Whoa. Why is it like any other three things?
Oh,
You have an older calculator. You chose varsity 1. I said it was not varsity 1.
You didn't tell me which one it is.
I
You
said it was
corrected me
eight.
for calling it the wrong
Eight.
Number 8.
Numero 8.
All right. So list 1 should have GPA. List 2 should have ACT. So X is list 1, Y is list 2. We're not going to do anything with the frequency list or storing the equation. So go down to calculate.
They do a man.
How many of you got R squared in R?
I didn't get an R.
I got it.
Okay. If
Start with that.
dim, what does your error say? Double check your
This is
list.
what I got.
All right. Shh. If you did not get R squared in R, Trey. If you did not get R squared in R, we have to turn a feature on in the calculator. We're going to do it together. It's a one-time thing. You do not need to memorize these steps, but I also don't want to repeat it 20 times because you weren't listening. So let's all listen.
I'm listening.
You need to hit second 0. so that it's the catalog.
Oh shit, second zero. Abs.
Then you're going to hit x to the -1. So it jumps us down to the d's.
Yeah.
Now at this point, you just have to scroll down.
To where?
To where?
Four.
Diagnostic on.
Do I click?
When you have the arrow next to diagnostic on, hit enter, and then enter again.
Done.
Done. Now when we do stat calc number 8, you should all get r squared and r.
Okay.
So hit
So
stat
why didn't you tell us to do this?
calc.
Just in case.
Not varsity one, it's 8.
Ah, yeah.
It was just a question.
Because if you all had it, why would I waste that time?
Wait, so now we have r squared and r?
Thank you.
I had that to start.
I know.
That's for the people that did it.
Oh, why did I do it there? It's 0.95. Yes.
Wait, do we have to write it? Or will it just be there now?
It'll just be there every time you do it. I'm just writing the steps to find r.
Also, where did my list?
It's like Willard.
Yes.
The Willard killer.
All right.
The Willard.
Hopefully you guys got 0.955.
Amber.
Do you really have your X information listed?
Amber, come.
So I think I did this wrong because that was cold.
So you have to do second one, comma, second two, or this one, this two.
Okay, that's, I used to run this.
Okay.
Why?
What do you want?
I accidentally deleted this too and instead of getting it back, I put this forward.
All right, are we all good? We got 0.955 for R.
No.
No. No one straight there. Then go.
Did you just not let us switch?
Yeah, because everything was
Fine.
David, why do you have like a
All right, are we good?
What?
Now, I am going to tell you guys the formula to find R, because if you take the AP exam, it may show up. I want you to know what it looks like. Don't be all freaked out.
Can you just pay for the credit in case you fail
Yeah.
the exam? How much
Yeah.
is it?
Well, we were told that all SOU classes are free this year, but we don't sign up till winter.
It's a misinput. It's not true.
Oh. Okay.
I don't know why, but Amber.
Okay, fine.
What?
All right, so that is the formula that the calculator does to find R.
That's so goddamn complicated.
Do not say that.
Do I need to
One
write that?
Gosh dang.
divided by 1 less than the number of observations you have, times the sum of all the x's minus the average divided by the standard deviation.
It looks like the Monsters Inc. thing that eats the.
I was really hoping you would tell me this looks like a z-score formula, because it is a z-score
No, the
formula.
thing to the left of it.
Thank you, Colton.
No, the thing
It
to the
looks like
left
the
of it.
stapler thing that you use to pull a stapler.
Listen, look to the left of it. It
It's
looks like the Monsters Inc. thing. that
capital
it eats.
letter sigma.
Sug.
Sigma.
That's it. That's how we're gonna remember it.
Sigma what?
That's a good one, dude.
All right, in the homework, the book will say find R by hand. Don't do it.
So we have to find sigma?
So what do you think I was close?
Don't find R by hand. Use the calculator. I can't change the way the book is written. They like to pretend like finding things by
Whoa,
hand is
wait,
still
hey. You didn't even ask.
All right.
No, like actually.
Go
take
back.
out the-
Test, I'm blaming it on you putting the page and not giving me what I need.
You want to blame your not passing on me, Mr. I'm going to sit here for 30 minutes with my arms crossed and every 2 minutes.
Me?
Yeah, you.
I have a bad cough.
Uh-huh.
I hurt his feelings. Wait.
I'll tell you when.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good.
How did I end up with you four in the same period? Seriously.
Aren't you just blessed?
Could you imagine if we weren't in here though?
Yeah. You wouldn't enjoy
I
it.
would get so much more done.
But you wouldn't have the memories.
All right, so those of you that are done writing this
Okay.
stuff down because you were paying attention, go ahead and put the other data from the next box in your calculator. The points per game and the number of wins.
We don't need
Get
that.
off your phone.
Points per game and number of wins. Why did you choose schizophrenia, Brooke?
Because he's seeing things.
He's seen things.
So what's like, what is R like, put in the top one? What does R say?
We're gonna do that on the next page.
Good question.
That is a good question.
Thank you.
All right, so hopefully you're putting this data in your calculator. We are going to make a graph because remember I told you when we look at two variable data, we start with a graph. We add a numerical summary, and then we describe the overall pattern. So we're going to do that. Look at that. I mean, it all come back around.
I'm making a, what kind of graph are you making?
What kind of graph do you think we're going to make?
Scatterplot.
Scatterplot. And this time I'm going to show you how to do it on the calculator. So you need the data in there.
Can I show you?
Do you remember?
I don't think so.
Okay, then no.
Hold
All
on.
right, everybody good? Got their lists in there?
No.
Just to give you guys a heads up,
That's where I did it.
I did, I'll just put it on my papers so when I'm, it's gone, okay? L3 is gone. I put points per game in list 4 in my calculator and the number of wins in list 5. So when I say L4, just know I'm
Referring to L1.
or wherever you put your points per
Can I
game.
do it?
High five.
Can I do it?
Yeah. All right. So to make a graph, a scatter plot, second y equals, just like when we made box plots, histograms, normal probability plots. Go into whichever plot you want. I have plot 1 turned on, so that's what I'm going to use. It is the first icon under type, the one with the dots. My X list, I told you, is list 4 for me, and then I have list 5. Then once all that is good, you hit graph, and oh no, I've got nothing. So what do I
Zoom
press? Zoom 9.
I don't have an X list on mine.
You didn't choose the right type. The first one.
This
No,
one?
yeah.
Yeah.
You have to choose the first type. So there's our scatter plot.
Can you move the calculator, please?
Can you please move it?
Por favor.
Now, just like before, anytime you make a graph on the calculator, you must make a sketch on your paper.
It's stupid. Why? Oh. You press zoom and then 9.
So there's the sketch in my graph tray. It's just a quick sketch,
Oh, why?
but because
So
then
you didn't cheat?
that is one reason. But then if your answer is wrong,
Then you'll
I
see why.
can help understand why your answer is wrong. Yes. Go to second y equals. Go into plot 1, so hit enter. Under type, it's that one, the very first one. And then make sure your X list and your Y list are the correct lists. Okay, graph.
Sometimes I do that. This is error. Here, dude, I got you.
That equation.
Those ones that you put up there.
Should look somewhere. Looks like you have like GPA.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm gonna issue right now.
I did.
Okay.
Okay.
It's the same as every other graph we've done. And the key is always zoom 9. Yes.
On your calculator, it says that you changed to L4.
Just wait all.
Uh-huh.
I'm supposed to do it.
Because wherever you put your lists, I just put my lists in there. Go to. It's got a square in the white equals.
So dumb.
I didn't say it.
Brain. What are
All right. Can you guys remind me the buttons we press to get our R value? Stat, calc, 8.
not varsity 1?
Stat, calc, 8.
Or varsity 2.
I am using list 4 and list 5. Did we get 0.936? Hopefully.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Are we running?
No. 0.936. Now, we started with a graph. We got our numerical summary. Now we're going to describe by interpreting R in context. So, you don't have to flip back, just listen to me. Back here, I told you that R measures strength and direction of linear relationships.
Just reminds me of that.
I am going to use that definition along with the context of the problem to write my interpretation. After I do it, I'm sure, like I've said a zillion times, you guys can probably make it sound much better than me, but this is how I do it. I'm going to say something like an R value of 0.936.
Can we just say 0.936?
Sure. Points to a very strong
Right curve.
positive linear
Curve.
relationship Linear kind of negates curve.
What?
You said curve, and I said linear negates the curved part. Because, okay.
What?
Linear and curve don't go together.
Unless you're talking about non-Euclidean geometry, in which point a line can be a circle.
Stop.
A circle?
A line
Yes.
can be a circle.
And a point is a line. I love non-Euclidean geometry. I don't like geometry, but I like non-Euclidean
stats.
geometry.
Yeah, facts.
Between points per game and number of wins. All right, so talked about strength, very strong, which down below I'll tell you kind of the values of R that we would say are weak strong, fairly strong, moderately strong, all that. Positive, two things tell us it's positive. One, the graph, it's got a positive slope. So we know it's a positive relationship. And two, R is positive. If it was a negative relationship, R would be negative. It's linear because we can see that it does kind of form a line. It resembles line. And then I put context. We were looking at the relationship between points per game and number of wins. May I move it up? Last time I moved it, people got mad at me. So, a positive R value, get this, means we have a positive association. A negative R value means we have a negative association. R lives between -1 and +1.
Isn't that crazy? Drew all went to Cascade.
If you get R equals 0, that means you have no linear relationship. If you get R is 0.3, we would say that's weak, positive linear relationship. So the closer we are to 0, the weaker our relationship is. Weak, it is positive. I'm going to use a plus to mean positive. Linear relationship. -0.3 would be everything I wrote above, but instead of positive, it's negative. So it'd be a weak, negative linear relationship. 0.7 we'd say is moderately or fairly strong. I'm going with fairly because it's a shorter word. This R value is positive, so we'd say it's a positive linear relationship. R is -0.7, same thing, just change positive to negative. And then if you get 1, that is very strong. It's +1, so it's a positive linear relationship. And then -1, everything the same, but instead of positive, it's a negative linear relationship. I will say this is one of the things that I have seen them throw trick questions on the AP exam about. So on the next page, we're going to talk about the ways they try to trick you. It is law notes. Not right now. Correlation makes no distinction between explanatory and response. So if you switch your X and your Y, it's not going to make much of a difference. The biggest thing, what, third, fourth time I've said this, both variables must be quantitative. I will see questions, I have seen questions where they'll say something like, oh, the correlation between political party and voting turnout is 0.83. Political party is a categorical variable. You cannot have a correlation between them. That would be a statement that they're just making up to try and confuse you. The units for correlation for R are none. There are no units. So if you see a statement like the correlation between gas tank size and miles and I just had it and I just lost it. The correlation between the gas tank size and how far you can drive is miles, 0.7 miles per gallon. The minute they put miles per gallon on there, it's an untrue statement. Because there are no labels for correlation. It has nothing to do with miles per gallon. How closely our data forms a line. It doesn't have to do with the actual labels. The correlation value does not change if the units are changed. So let's say you were looking at the correlation between arm span and height. And both of those were measured in inches, and then you decide to change them to centimeters. The correlation value will be the same in inches as it is in centimeters. If you change the units of your variable, it does not change the value of R. Correlation describes the strength of a linear relationship only. You can use that lin reg and get an R value for nonlinear data. That's why you should always start with a graph. Because if you get an R value of -1 or 1, but you didn't check the graph, you may not have a linear relationship. You may have a parabola for how the data looks. You always start with the graph. Because even though R describes linear relationships, the calculator will do the math no matter what the graph looks like. The correlation value R is non-resistant, meaning it's vulnerable to outliers, which down below we're going to look at what an outlier does. And we will look later in this unit at outliers in X directions versus outliers in Y directions. correlation does not imply. My husband is very angry right now with those of you that have had him for psychology. Causation. Correlation does not imply causation. Just because two things are related does not mean that one caused the other to happen. And then the last thing, correlation is not a complete summary of two variable data. We will learn some other values later on to help us describe our two variable data. I was gold. So, down below, I have the points per game and the number of wins. I just printed the scatter plot for you. Looks very similar to the one you made on your calculator. We found that R was 0.936. The point that's highlighted in red, but on your copy is just the grayish one down at the bottom left, is Mississippi. Mississippi had 16.1 points per game and only 2 wins. What do you think Mississippi's effect is on correlation? Do you think Mississippi makes our R value higher, so makes our scatter plot more linear? Or do you think Mississippi causes our R value to drop and make our scatter plot less linear? Anybody have any thoughts? Does Mississippi make our line stronger or weaker?
I think it makes it stronger.
He does. She does. Mississippi does. Makes our line stronger. If I get rid of Mississippi, now I have almost a curve to my data. Where when Mississippi in the scatter plot, it pulls that curve straight.
So it makes it more linear?
Mississippi, Mississippi, makes our data more linear. It increases our R value. Now, this part you can just watch me do. Where's my calculator? We have the data for that scatter plot in our calculator. If I go back into my list and I get rid of Mississippi, and then I find the R value, with Mississippi it was 0.936. Without Mississippi it's 0.919. So Mississippi, like Trey said, it helps make our data more linear. So R with Mississippi was 0.936. The R without Mississippi is 0.919.
Should we write that?
That's up to you. Like I said, the homework that is listed on the note sheet is not the correct one. Make sure you do the homework on the overview. They're not the same. I forgot to update the homework on the notes. Do these problems. Yes.